Chapter 80. Love and Longing. Several more complaints, accusations of cheating, and even a few threats. Your detractors are really taking this personally, Bryn Char remarks as Vernon reappears. I don't think they were watching the match, as there was no reference to teleportation being somehow unfair or unsporting, but there are plenty of references to attacking from behind. But the shells are mostly on someone's back. Where else would anyone attack to destroy a shell? Mironoir asks, and Bryn Char shrugs. I honestly don't know. It seems our complainer is just throwing out as many accusations as possible to see if something actually works, Bryn Char explains. This is actually somewhat common. We get a bad sport every few tournaments or so. The only thing strange is that there are a fair few complaints about conspiracy, aliens, and sorcery. All of it technically true, but none of it against the rules. Conspiracy? Vernon asks, even as the next round ends really starts kicking off on the screen nearby. The girl has a good grasp of green warfire. Not everyone believes that humans are anything other than a strange breakaway nation or publicity stunt from a group of Tret. That's the problem with a galaxy, where the peoples mold themselves to resemble each other more and more. A new race that fits in is considered odd. Certainly there are many races still out in the wildest parts of the galaxy, but cruel space, where life goes to die. It does sound strange, but reality can be stranger than any fiction, Vernon remarks as he studies the way the clear frontrunner is using warfire. Then his eyebrows go up as she's unceremoniously taken out by an Apuk who simply parts the flame and moves too fast to be caught as she cuts the straps of the green fire user's armor and uses her shell to brutally attack another opponent, shattering both contestants' shells. The match is quickly wrapped up, and Lori Vryn, the trickster who smashes her foes' shells with the shells of her other foes, is slated to participate in the finals with Vernon. The towering Amazon in dark blue actually joins them in the back in a show of silent solidarity. Bryn Char's watching like a hawk, but all she does is sit and watch the next fight. The next fight has no sudden surprise winners or tricks. The clear standout is Cree Jules, who can redirect herself in mid-air, giving herself an enormous agility advantage over her opponents. Soon enough, the dark red-clad Apuk joins them with a cheery smile and turns to watch. The next round is too important for silliness. Next round has an absolute master of warfire whose flames are bright green without a hint of other colors. No fuss, no muss. Terry Foos passes and joins them in her bright banana yellow outfit and shell. Terry Foos gets a compliment from Mironoir, as apparently she figured out the secret of green flames around back and was making wonderful use of them. Daxiquor wins the next round by solidifying her blue warfire to make a pole arm that she uses to completely control the flow of the battle. The purple-clad Apuk joins them as they watch the final semifinals fight, where Zion Hute goes for the knees, elbows, and tails of her opponents to cripple them in pain. There's a lot of wincing when she gets hold of a warrior's leg and snaps it. Only when her opponent is helpless does she go for the shell and take them out of the tournament. Legal, but very bad form. Bryn Char notes wryly. A 15-minute break is announced so that all contestants have a chance for last-moment preparations or repairs to their armor. Vernon considers the few cracked discs on his stomach, but decides they won't make a difference. If any of his opponents gets a good enough shot at him to take advantage of the cracked discs, then they've got enough of a shot at him that it won't make a difference where he's hit. Zion Hute stalks into the waiting room and glares at everyone. Vernon returns it, which just seems to infuriate her further, and she stalks out to wait in another room. What on Cerbo is going on between you two? Cree Jules demands after Zion Hute leaves. I took out the opponent she was looking forward to beating. Kyla Jass, was it? Vernon asks. It was. The girl was confident enough to stand more to the stature of a princess already. But in the third round, she was bested by you with that tritite sword you conjured. Mironoir notes. I remembered which she was, but I wasn't sure if I had her name down properly. Vernon replies, "Hopefully she's not taking this too poorly. She just slumped down when I broke her shell. I'm fairly sure she wasn't hurt, but..." Vernon shrugs. "I was a little busy to keep watching her after that. She's all right. I've been keeping a bit of an eye on her after Miss Hute brought her up. She's been watching the tournament with a dejected look, flinching especially hard during each of Miss Hute's rounds." Brinchar answers and Vernon nods as he considers. "As much as I'd like to help, it wouldn't be wise. There's no telling how she's going to react to things. Is she feeling guilt for not facing down Zion Hute? Is she angry that she cannot? What do you think?" Vernon asks, and Miro Noir sighs before giving him a hug. "You're too kind for your own good. Just concentrate on the next round. Don't worry about Miss Jass. She's a warrior and no doubt has a family to help her. You don't need to shoulder the burdens of strangers." Miro Noir assures him and he melts into the hug. "If only that bit of Trelline wasn't on me, we'd be giving these girls a bit of a show." Vernon teases and Miro Noir titters. "Trelline? What's this about Trelline?" Daxiquor asks, and Brinchar clears his throat as the couple cuddle together. "There's been attempted sabotage. Fortunately, Mr. Shea is extremely resistant to toxins. He identified it as a familiar taste, which should go quite the distance in explaining just how resistant to poison the man is," Brinchar states, and there's a disgruntled feeling going around the room. "Was it?" Cree Jules begins, but lets it fade before finishing the question. "Everything is being done anonymous. Otherwise, we'd have put them on display after dealing with them for these infractions. If we do come across proof enough to prosecute, the consequences will be severe." Brinchar vows, and a slight chill goes through the room, even as Vernon leans out of the cuddle to grin impishly. "Asterisk transmutation, sorcery, or other piece of entertainment?" he asks, and Brinchar chuckles. "Asterisk, we shall figure something out." Brinchar returns and Vernon leans back into Miro Noir, who cuddles all the more completely. "All right, ladies, and Vernon, we're on the last 2 minutes. Get up and get moving. You're all expected on the tournament floor. Win or lose, let's all learn a little something from this, shall we?" Vernon adds, and there are grins all around. "You sound like you're not here for the crown," Terryfoos notes. "I'm here to test my strength, learn more about my wife's culture, test the armor, find more excuses to cuddle with my wife, have fun, put on a good show for humanity, flirt with my wife, and get a good grasp of axiom-enhanced combat. As far as I'm concerned, I've already done everything I've set out to do. I've won everything but a title, and that's just a bonus to me. So, best of luck, ladies, but I'm not going to make this easy on anyone," Vernon says as he rolls his shoulders and shakes his arms out. "It's time to show these girls just how much they're limiting themselves with just fire. That includes yourself. You've been deliberately using only 1 or 2 tricks per round. The first 2 was time stopping and then acceleration, followed by transmutation, and then came sorcery, then teleportation to the extreme. What's next?" Brinchar asks. "I noticed a gap in warfire. I'm going to take ruthless advantage of it," Vernon says with a vicious grin. "Oh no, here we go." Brinchar notes with a chuckle as the rest of the group suddenly feel a chill go down their spines. "And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, warriors and sorcerers, children of all ages and each and every race, the final round of this broken shell tournament." Go Yeetus half bellows into her microphone as all of them walk out of the same entrance. Zion Hute had joined them some 50 paces back, glaring but saying nothing. Each and every one of these absolute champions has proven themselves with incredible strength, astonishing agility, consummate skill, sheer force, tactical brilliance, and even outright sorcery. Each and every one of them has proven themselves beyond the rest. But there is only one crown on offer. Only one of these 6 titans of battle can win the title. Who will it be? Let it be revealed to us. The final round begins. No one rushes forward, but everyone does something. Zion Hute takes a powerful stance and starts scanning as Terry Foos and Daxi Quor begin manifesting warfire. Vernon makes a careful note of who's doing what as Lorivrin seems to fade in and out as she starts rippling the air around her. She's definitely got a plan. Cree Jules stretches a little to get the extra little kinks out and makes a gesture for them all to bring it. "Okay, fine. I'll bring it," Vernon says, and he rips all the heat out of the arena and into a tiny ball the size of a marble. The floor is instantly covered in ice that reaches up and entombs the legs of the Apuk as thick fog kicks up to obscure sight. Vernon remains visible and surrounded by clear floor as the tiny star he's created blazes so hot that he's instantly drenched in sweat. He launches himself at Terry Foos, who's the closest. She tries to breathe the green flames at him, but he simply pulls it into the already white-hot ball. It grows in size. Guiding it with 2 fingers, the micro-white dwarf star streaks through the air as Terry Foos shatters the ice around her ankles to dodge. She glances to the side, and Vernon jumps back to avoid a flying tackle courtesy of Daxi Quor, who turns it into a handstand as she tries to balance on the ice. A few turns and she spins it into her skating around for another attack. An eruption of furious screams causes Vernon to glance to the side ever so and spot that Zion Hute is just barely being fended off by Lorivrin and Cree Jewel. The oversized Apuk is a dervish of brutality and fury, but her rage has blinded her to Lorivrin's tricks, and she can't keep up with Cree Jewel's agility. Terry Foos is no fool and brings around a fist that Vernon is forced to dodge. She makes a grab for the concentrated warfire bead, and he can feel her trying to control it. He grins and lets her have it even as he sets it to detonate. He erects a barrier just before the ball of power goes critical and detonates in the shocked Apuk's face. Her own barrier, thrown up at the last second, is poorly angled, and her focus is broken in the blast, leaving her dazed but unharmed. "Sorry," Vernon remarks as he slams his palm into her shell and tears it off her with axiom-infused fingers. As he spins away, he sees Daxi Quor incoming, and he quickly raises the shell to serve as a shield. She slams a foot clean through it, sending him skidding back. "You're tricky." "I like that," Daxi Quor exclaims as she kicks again before landing on her hands and launching herself at him. Using her own body as a visual block, she gathers fire and then merges it into a massive burning blue glaive that she slams down with all the speed she can muster. He sidesteps. He tears at the heat in the arena again and forms another warfire bead. "Hey!" Terry Foos protests as he accidentally ices her down as she makes to leave the arena. "Sorry," Vernon remarks even as he flicks around the tiny bead to ward off Daxi Quor. This time, he doesn't simply gather what's being offered and feeds it himself as Daxi Quor tries to find a way around him before vanishing in a teleport, but he turns around too fast to be caught off guard, and she avoids the burning bead of power again. Then the bead blurs and she half catches it, half blocks the attack, and skids backwards from the sheer strength of the concentrated warfire. She grabs into it herself and takes control, pouring an enormous amount of heat into it, which rapidly grows out of control as Vernon pumps more heat into it himself, and it grows unstable. For just a moment she freezes as he got her off guard with that move, so he slams the weapon to the side as it erupts in a directional explosion to the other brawl. She's not completely out as she catches him on the right arm and left shoulder, and he reflexively kicks her in the thighs to try and break her grip. Her right slips on the sweat, but her grip on his shoulder is firm. "This is the end," she remarks before a deep and soul-numbing cold engulfs her. "I'm afraid not," Vernon replies before tossing the bead of heat into his mouth. He breaks her grip and darts around her even as she shatters the ice again, but as she grabs, he exhales a massive blue stream of warfire tinged with green to block her sight and grabs onto her shell. He boosts his strength and crushes the armor like an empty beer can. "You're quick." "Thank you." he remarks as she steps away and he takes a pace to the side. The three-way stalemate with them is about to be broken with Zion Hute having a good grip on Lorivrin. He charges, he drop-kicks the large Apuk and sends her skidding back as her grip on Lorivrin breaks. Hey girls, there's nothing in the rules against cooperation, only that there's just one winner. What do you say we get Miss Maims her foes out of the contest? Sniveling coward, just like your pathetic bitch bride, Zion Hute hisses. What did you just say? Vernon asks her lowly. The look on her face as she realizes she's found something to upset him should warn him, but it passes so quickly he misses it. Just like your pathetic bitch bride. After all, she only got lucky to figure out proper warfire. She used trickery and false weakness to lie and cheat her way into... Zion Hute is launched backwards as Vernon slams an axiom-covered palm into her stomach. She crashes against the floor and rights herself before charging him. Lorivrin and Cree Jules step back as Vernon charges Zion Hute. Miro Noir the Matchless, the most pathetic princess to ever come out of these tournaments, a stupid little girl who couldn't beg her way into marriage across a dozen worlds before grabbing some brain-dead alien idiot out of a bar like some common. Zion Hute rants, trying to hit the stupendously fast Vernon before the ground beneath her shatters as Vernon's eyes blaze with utter fury. She barely dodges the grasping roots before the ground shifts into sand beneath her to grab her as Vernon sticks his hand into the arena floor. He then inhales and tears out the heat to ice her up, giving the roots time to grab her by the legs. She tries to rip them and he tears more heat away to slow her further as the vines wrap around her and leave her vulnerable. The roots encase her as Vernon glows with green axiom light to match the roots. The light erupts into a woodsy flame that traces horns and a tail that he doesn't have as he marches up to the larger Apuk. The arena parts next to him as the ground spits up a tritite and Kutha war sword that not only has the spikes on the side, but a vine and leaf pattern as if it were pulled off the branch of a tree. He holds the sword to Zion Hute's throat and everyone goes silent and still. As a reminder, deliberately killing your opponent is not only an automatic forfeiture, but a crime, and no amount of being a man, a sorcerer, an alien, or a soldier will save you from a long, long time in prison. Goyitis remarks and the sword is pulled away. Vernon steps up to her and glares at the kneeling and restrained Apuk. She's so massive that despite being held down in a kneeling position, he still has to look up to match her glare. You will apologize for what you have said about my wife. He growls up at her. She spits at him and he sidesteps the phlegm launched at him. Then he divides her follow-up flame with his sword until the heat-hungry roots grow over her mouth and hold her utterly still and helpless. He glares at her for a moment, then throws his sword to the ground. No title is worth soiling myself with your presence. No prize is worth having anything to do with the likes of you. Vernon snarls before turning his back on her and walking away. He grabs the links of his armor and tears it apart, links, undershirt, and everything to leave his chest bare. The tritite discs falling to the arena floor ring out loud enough for everyone to hear. Lorivrin and Cree Jules are openly gaping as he walks out of the arena. The silence is only broken by his footsteps. Shells and goddesses. Did that really just happen? Goyitis asks in an awed tone.